Okay, I believe we're ready. And hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Judy Carmen. I'm the co-founder with Lisa Levinson of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, which is based in the U.S. The IVC is part of In Defense of Animals, and it has 49 member organizations, IVC does, allies and affiliates. We also have many enthusiastic individual members, and one of our primary goals is to help expand the practice of the Golden Rule to include all species, all beings, all life. By ending violence toward all animals and nature, we believe we human beings can create a world of peace for all beings everywhere. The Interfaith Vegan Coalition is delighted to jointly introduce the presentation, Alice in Golden Rule Land. I'm so excited to hear this, along with our partner organization of the Animal Interfaith Alliance, which is based in the UK. Barbara, hi, I'll turn it over to
Hi.
you.
Hello, I'm Barbara Gardner, founder of the Animal Interfaith Alliance, an alliance of the world's most influential faith-based animal advocacy organisations, whose activities include animal advocacy and education. The Animal Interfaith Alliance is a United Nations Environment Programme accredited organisation and a member of the UN Environment Programme's Faith for Earth Coalition.
So on behalf of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition and the Animal Interfaith Alliance, which is an alliance of the world's most influential faith-based animal advocacy organizations, the Animal Interfaith Alliance, and you already told that, Barbara, so I don't need to repeat that. We are so excited to introduce our amazing speaker, Dr. Nayana Shah. Nayana is an international scientist, a theoretical quantum physicist dedicated to living a conscious, compassionate, and creative life, illuminated by a constant inquiry of truth. She is a member of the Parliament of World Religions, Board of Trustees, and a patron of the Animal Interfaith Alliance. She is rooted in the Ahimsa principles of Jainism, and her enriched practice of Vipassana meditation, inspired, of course, by quantum physics, and her consciousness is a tapestry of ancient wisdom and modern insights. Barbara?
Using the quantum laws of physics, her research seeks to understand how different phases and properties of matter emerge in a collection of many particles interacting with each other under different conditions. That quest is also to identify the universalities within the diversity. Taking her scientific approach and experience to exploring and uncovering truths of life has led her to a deep study and practice of the spiritual principles, Vipassana meditation, yoga, non-violent communication, and ahimsic living rooted in her Jain upbringing. Holistic plant-based nutrition, lifestyle, regenerative design, and the interconnectedness of all, including earth, energy, and environment. Her extensive work in different arenas has included research, teaching, mentoring, starting and leading initiatives, grassroots activism, and facilitating groups at different levels involving a range of settings and diverse backgrounds. And through all of it, she is devoted to realizing her holistic vision of a harmonious world.
So I wanted to mention just briefly, there may be time for questions at the end. We're not sure yet, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will definitely ask them if there is time at the end. You can also connect with Dr. Shah at LinkedIn or through her email. And now, with no further ado, we would love to introduce Dr. Nayana Shah as she explores the golden rule inside out and outside in with curiosity and an open mind. Be prepared to go down the rabbit hole. Dr. Shah?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So I want to first of all thank the Charter for Compassion for organizing this event of like this celebrating Golden Rule and making this such a important celebration, which is so much needed today. And then I want to also be expressing my gratitude to Judy and to Barbara for this very beautiful introduction and the work they do. I mean, it's amazing. If you have never checked what is the work they are doing, please do check, because you'll find a lot of very useful resources too on their websites. So do please explore. And I also want to express a lot of gratitude to all of you who are present now or who might watch the recording later. And just for any journey, it's such a good idea to start with just starting with from a place of gratitude. So let's just connect, like just close our eyes and just connect to that space in us where we feel a lot of gratitude for who we are, where we are, the fact that we are alive. If we were not alive, we are not even on a journey. So we are on a journey just by being alive. And so a lot of gratitude. And we'll keep cycling back to gratitude as we continue our journey. So with just the gratitude that I'm hearing the birds chirping here, I'm seeing a lot of green and the sky and this beautiful earth around us is there. We are here thanks to gravity. And so just starting with that gratitude, I also want to just move on to the gratitude for Lewis Carroll, who wrote this beautiful book, which is Alice's Adventures in the Wonderland. And I just want to say that he was actually an author, as we know, but he was a mathematician. And as you can imagine, as being a theoretical physicist, that's pretty close. And so it's just a mathematician and a person who was clearly having some spiritual journey based on the book he has written. So the book has been interpreted in so many different ways, and you can find books written about it in many languages. It's been translated. And so I just want to start from that place where, and there are like many different interpretations. And one of the interpretations is Alice is growing up and making sense of the world. And that's close to my heart right now. I'm a mother, and my daughter, I'm seeing her grow up, and every day I'm seeing how things are happening. And then there's the other journey that has been interpreted as a spiritual journey. And there are also people who feel like this was before quantum physics came, but like it almost feels like there are like quantum ideas and weird things that happen in quantum physics and quantum physicists are studying, and they are fascinated too. There are many things that are many times Alice is used in describing some phenomena, or used as an example, Alice and Bob for entanglement stories. And so it's just a whole world there. And I'm not surprised that the three things, growing up, spiritual journey, and the quantum physics, these three things all come from this story, all these interpretations. It's not surprising in a way, because they all are kind of linked to each other in many ways, I feel. There are many similarities there. And so I just want to put that aside. And those who have not read this book, don't worry, because we are not going to like constantly refer to it or anything like that. But here Alice is this little girl, and that's all you need to know, who's curious, trying to make sense of the world. If that's all you need to know, that's enough. So what we are going to do now, before we begin our journey, if we are wearing any armor or any hard hat, like, imagine I'm sitting here with this right now, with my helmet or anything like that, just whatever beliefs, I'm sure you all come from different beliefs and different traditions, and they all are valuable and beautiful. But for now, for the purpose of inquiry, we are going to remove our hard hat, our armor, whatever it is that we carry around with us, and keep it aside just for this journey. And if you want, if you're feeling like, oh, I cannot just, I feel like, based on our journeys, we might feel very differently about removing our armor. Sometimes for survival, we need that. And so if you're feeling like you need something, like, okay, you can keep a light hat, or you can keep some scarf or something, an umbrella. So yeah, just if you need to be, being kind to yourself is really important. So if you need that at any point, use that. But let's remove our hard hat and the armor that we have. And once we have done that, what are we doing really? What that represents is keeping aside dogma. So our starting point is to keep aside any dogma that we are carrying in us, and trying to, as far as possible, to keep it aside, because dogma in some sense is the end of inquiry. So if we want to be on a journey of inquiry, we want to keep aside dogma. If you feel like it, you can again put it later. But for now, let's keep it aside. And that's true for anything, any journey of inquiry, whether it's science or spirituality. It's any journey of inquiry. It will not be a journey of inquiry if we are set on a dogma. So imagine, like, science, like if we were to be set on dogma, we would be still on flat earth. Okay. And this, you cannot, like, you look at what's done, but you don't take it as dogma. It's given, if with dogma, you cannot have any science and you cannot make any spiritual progress. And in fact, all the spiritual leaders, like people who started new inquiries and new religions were later formed, they did not start with that place of dogma. They started with a journey of inquiry. They found something, they shared it with people, and then it is the way systems work that it was turned into dogma, and it was made into rigid structures. Because with all these rigid structures, what happens is there's so much rigidity that there are all these well-defined tracks on which you are supposed to walk. You cannot change lanes. You cannot do this and you cannot do that. You land up walking around and in this very rigid land, and you never really get to the soft core, the essence of what was there that was taught. And so I feel like we want to keep evolving. We want to discover things for ourselves. And so in this journey, we are going to try to actually get to some places where, as I said, keep your little small hat and umbrella if you need it. Take your time and just use that. Make a pause whenever needed. So what we are going to do now that our hard hat is removed, we are feeling light, let's just take a moment to breathe and just be fully alive, fully open as much as possible. And just feel like openness coming. And with that, we don't want, like in Alice, she is like, oh, her sister is reading this book. There are no pictures. There's nothing fun happening. And she is like tired of it. So let's not get into all these books and what's written and everything. Let's keep that aside for the time being. And now, just like little Alice, we are going to just run behind a rabbit. Luckily, I have one here. And you run behind the rabbit, and we are going to get into a rabbit hole. So close your eyes, and we get through this tunnel. And then suddenly, just like Alice, we are going to start dropping down. And just like see what comes up. It's going to feel very slow because thoughts are they come like so fast that it feels very slow when we are getting into closing our eyes and getting connected to ourselves. Try to start going inside. Just like falling through this hole is like getting into a state of meditation, a state of inquiry. And so all sorts of things might be coming to your mind. Lots of things. Oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, have I turned off the gas stove? Or whatever it is. I wonder, like, if you're in your office, what's happening there? All those different thoughts that might be happening, coming to your mind. You might be getting reminded of some news that you just read. So all those thoughts, oh, have I taken care of this? Have I taken care of that? Just let them pass. Just make note of them and slowly transition as we're falling down into this world of golden rule land that we are going to explore today. And use your breath as your friend always to pause and connect. So just observe all the thoughts that are coming, any doubts, judgments. You might be wondering, where is she taking us? Where are we going to go today in this journey? And so just slowly feel settled. And so let's now like think about what is the golden rule. What is the golden rule actually? And I'm a quantum physicist. I grew up in India. I had never heard of the words golden rule like that. Of course, its meaning and implications, all those are part of all the traditions, but was not stated in those words. And so the only golden rule that I knew was Fermi's golden rule, which is in quantum physics. And so, we all have our journeys. We all come with different ideas about what a golden rule means. And then when I found out what it is, of course, like, yeah, it made sense. But then, it's not like I'm a religious scholar who has read like all sorts of possible texts of how the golden rule came, what's the history of it and how it was developed or anything like that. So we are going to start wherever we are with an authentic self. So who I am, you heard in the introduction. So I'm a scientist, I'm a theoretical physicist, and I have been living a life of inquiry. So that's the thing that I know how to do well. And so when I heard about the golden rule, I started going through this journey of inquiry myself. And as I started thinking about it, I just thought like the thing that I can bring is what I have, and which is this, all the, practices that I've been having based on that, how my journey has been, and like just taking it together with you and seeing what comes up for all of us. And so bring your authentic self, whatever it is, for this journey. And so we are going to start with having removed this. We are going to hard hat and feeling lighter. We are going to now, connect to our curiosity, a sense of wonder that children have. And very often it doesn't last too long because of the way things are done to them. But let's keep that alive. And that's what is also needed for a spiritual journey. And so let's start with that sense of wonder, and having kept aside dogma and having accepted that, the earth is round, it's not flat. And on this round earth, we are going to be starting our journey of inquiry and kind of feel like all those people, spiritual leaders, are with us on this journey. Imagine how they might have done their inquiry, and think of all the companions from all times that are on this journey and maybe coming later. This is a journey that everyone is going through. We all cross paths in this journey. And so you're not alone, ever alone in a journey like this. And so starting with that, so let's look at the golden rule. So what is the golden rule? This is called the golden rule because there are so many other golden rules, but this is the golden rule, is to treat others the way you would wish them to treat you. Or it's also specified as don't treat others the way you don't want them to treat you. So, and there are all other ways of stating it. So when we take this rule, we want to understand, like any inquiry, like the question that comes to my mind is first of all, why is it called a rule, right? From a patriarchal point of view, if you think of the word rule, like kids, imagine kids when they're told, oh, this is the rule, the first thing they want to do is try breaking it. And so I think, the fact that it's called a rule, I know it's like it's supposed to be a guiding principle. That's like a slightly gentle way of thinking about it. Think of it whatever way you want. But the idea is that by stating this rule, we want to kind of say, try to break it, but not like completely. Because as in science, when you're doing, like, you're trying to discover something, like, for example, if you want to be sure, oh, I'm not going to trust anyone what they say, this is an explosive, I'm going to actually try to do this and see if it's an explosive, and then I will not be there anymore, and that's the end of my inquiry. So we don't completely break a rule, we kind of probe around it. We ask questions to find where are its boundaries. What happens if we push it in this direction? If I break it a little bit here, if I break it a little bit there, what's going to happen? And so, it's going to be like systematic, just the way we do things in science. We are going to try to kind of find what are its boundaries, to who all does it apply, and where does it come from? Like, why is there this rule to begin with? Who made it? I mean, how did someone come up with this rule? And is it like, for what? Is it supposed to help me? Is it supposed to help the society? Is it supposed to help like some powerful people only? Yes, let all the questions come up. We are free. We have set aside dogma. We can question everything freely as to why this rule is there. And we are going to try to find out kind of by moving around it. And so, so even Alice, she sees this bottle and she's wondering, she wants to, whether she should drink it. She's also being very careful. She checks, it doesn't say poison on it. So she is aware that she should not be drinking poison, because if that was a poison, she would drink it and that would be the end of the story. No journey there, no fun there. So, we want to have an adventure. So we are not going to drink poison. We are going to actually just slowly do things and see how we learn things, like ask questions around it. And so let's begin there. And And like, for example, like in science, I'm a quantum physicist, right? So like you can ask the questions, where does it apply? Like classical physics that was there, once it was found that it doesn't work for some systems, and like there are questions that are you cannot use classical physics to understand, and the quantum theory came up. The question was classical physics, are there any, like, where does it apply? Like, for example, if you're just seeing the trajectory of a ball, you don't have to do calculations of quantum physics. You use that there. So, you have to you're always trying to find out where all what applies. And so you kind of, you don't have to throw away things. So we are trying to see how far we can push it. Where does it apply? Where does it not apply? What does it really mean? And so let's systematically start asking questions. And so let's first just say, I'm a little girl and someone told me, hey, apply the golden rule, treat others the way you would like them to treat you. And like, let's imagine that you really liked to be hugged, and like even little babies, they want to be cuddled. And like, imagine they understood this golden rule already. And, maybe it's inbuilt, who knows? And they start like, they want to hug everyone because they feel, oh, that feels so good. Like I want to be hugged all the time. So I'm going to hug others. And, like the mother says, oh no, but I have to cook. I have to take care of all these things. I cannot be just sitting there hugging you. And so, they're like, you start learning what really, what does it mean? Like, is it just like, and then as you're growing up, you find out like, I really, if I'm very busy working and I'm totally engrossed in it, and I'm like working and let's say I don't want anyone to come here disturb me. I'm totally deep into something. And like someone keeps coming and asking, oh, would you like some tea? Oh, are you hungry? Would you like some food? And, and I'm like, can you not just leave me alone? And let's imagine if I like to be left alone and I do the same thing with someone else, and they would have really liked if like, oh, can't you even care? I have not really eaten, I have not drank anything, I was working so hard, you didn't even care to bring me some food and bring me something to drink. And so, it's like if we start thinking about it, like, oh, what does that person really want? And like I should treat others the way I want to be treated. Does it always work? Like, so it's, we are all such different people. We have gone through such different trajectories. We all are unique individuals. And it's like this seems to be like not making sense. If, often like in relationships, people are trying to find ways of pleasing others. Is that the golden rule about? Like, oh, you feel like, oh, I'm in a dark room. I really don't know what you like. Can you just tell me? Like, if only I don't have to play this guessing game and like can you just tell me what you like? There are times when you feel like you do something and they're like, oh, they don't like this. Okay, I thought you liked this. Oh no, I don't like that. I like it when it's like this. So, it's at some point you start feeling like giddy. This world is not making sense. Whatever I do, this person is never happy, is never satisfied. What does it all mean? So, if you take it in that sense, it starts feeling very confusing very quickly because I don't really know what other people want. And so I would think like, oh, but different preferences. So, there's also so much diversity, different people, different cultures, different backgrounds, like someone who's doing science versus engineering versus like, philosophy, like they all have different backgrounds and different trajectories and different conditionings. And so you might feel like if that is what it is about, figuring out what exactly everyone wants, I cannot play this game. And you would just say, my inquiry is over. This doesn't make sense to me. I can never tell what others want. I never seem to please anyone. And, it's not just that. It was one thing yesterday, and tomorrow it's a different thing. Especially if you have a child who's growing up. They used to really like to be hugged, and now they're getting old and they're like, oh, I don't want to be hugged, especially in public. Stay away from me. And there's, as Alice says, she's like, I don't even recognize myself. I'm so different. And so, there are all those changes happening. So those things are even changing with time. So there is, all these differences. So then you have to ask, is the golden rule about actually this, like about pleasing others? And this might like making everyone happy all the time. Like, how do I even know what they want? And not only that, I mean, what I want, do I know? Because it's like treat others the way you would like them to treat you. So do I know how I want to be treated? I used to like this, but now I don't like it anymore. And so I'm not sure. I find out only when I get annoyed at someone, oh, I don't like this, right? It's like they thought that you like it, and so they're trying to do something. But then in the meantime, things have changed, and now I don't like it anymore. And so if it was this game of trying to figure out in this completely changing world, what someone likes and what I like, and what would I like others to do to me. So it's gets very confusing very quickly. And just like, the world in which Alice finds herself. And so we say, okay, maybe it's not just this. There is something else. I need to keep on my journey to figure out what is this all about? Why was this suggested? So maybe, all these diverse things are there, and diversity is very, very important and valuable. So I think one thing I'm finding out in this journey is that there is diversity, and it's good to respect that diversity. And it's a function of time even. So that variable is there too. And so respecting diversity, for example, I study materials and different systems, they show very amazingly different behaviors. And it's really amazing, like what all things can happen. There's a superconductor, there's a magnet, and then you change temperature, and then things change, and maybe there are dynamic things, it changes with time. But what, as scientists, as physicists, what we are trying to do is try to move towards universality. Like in the sense, yes, all this looks different, but is there something that is universal in this seemingly very different looking systems, which have very different molecules in it? Is there something that is universal? In the same way, I think the way I feel about this is like in the spiritual journey too, we are trying to find out and get to something that is universal. Because we are all human beings and we all are diverse, but there is something universal. And are there some universal things that everyone cares about and wants? It's not about this preference and that preference. And we try to then we are kind of on a path now. We're trying to figure out what is universal. And so that's one path that we can take. And imagine, but it's not about everything being the same, because that would be a really boring world. Because imagine, like, if there were no, like, instead of having all these different beautiful materials, there was only one type of material, only one atom. What kind of world? There would be no world there. So it's the same way, the whole diversity, and it's not just amongst humans. Just open your eyes fully and look around. And like, if you're, not really seeing anything, just imagine in your mind's eye, like all these beautiful animals and trees and landscapes. There are mountains, there are rivers, there are all sorts of different habitats, and there's just so much diversity. And so diversity is something that we want to celebrate. We soon realize in this journey that that's a variable that it's there, and it's something we note down. All right. So we are inquiring about this rule, but it seems that there's diversity, there's something different trajectories and different things there. And so now let's start by, since we kind of have a hint that we need to, if to make sense of it, maybe try to find things that are universal. But let's also see what other things scientists do is observe, like make observations and see if they can give us some hints on what are the right questions to ask, or to kind of know where all things apply and they don't apply. And so just let's be this curious child and start wondering about like all the things that we have been observing. So maybe at this moment, it will be a good idea for us to just make a pause, because we've just take a moment to breathe in and pause as to where we are so far in our journey. And we are realizing that sometimes we feel like we are in a dark room. We don't really know what makes anyone happy. Like you feel like all the time people, whatever you do, they're never happy. Your boss is never happy. Your partner is never happy. Your kid is never happy with what you're doing. So if you're feeling like that, and most people I know feel like that, so you're not alone. Just take a moment and hug yourself. And feel the frustration that might be coming up in you. This feeling of, oh, I can never really make anyone happy or please anyone. And the rules are always changing on me. I thought I just understood what I need to do, but now it's changed. So let's just give ourselves some love there, if all that is coming up. Because we want to start making observations, and we need that comforting space to move forward. We don't want to be cluttered. We want to have some clarity before we move on. So then imagine this, Alice is growing up now, and she starts looking around and is making observations. You know, that's how kids are learning. That's how we are all learning. And so she's learning, she sees around, what is she seeing? How are the people acting, interacting? So she starts looking around, and like, let's say a child goes to school and a kid comes and like pushes someone. The other kid gets up and pushes that kid back, and there's like fight going on. And there are like in the parents, like your mother says something and the dad says something back. The mother says, you're, how stupid of you. He says like, you are the stupid person. And like, I hope you're not seeing that, but like, as a child, you know, all this, there are all sorts of things that we are seeing around. And if you have a TV at home, which we don't have, luckily, you know, you're seeing all sorts of news and like, oh, this country is doing this. And so because they dropped this bomb here, or like they went in with the army, now they are going back there. And you're seeing all this around you, and you try to, let's say, see all this, and you are formulating what that means. What you're going to formulate in your head is treat others the way they treat you. That's what you're seeing all around, apparently. So why are they telling me to treat others the way I would like them to treat me? But what I'm seeing around here is treat others the way they treat you. And I see that some, like, you know, the parents are telling you, oh, If they did something to you, don't just stay back. Don't you have any self-respect? Say something to them, do something to them. If someone is doing something, do back to them. And, eye for an eye kind of thing that we're seeing. And all the systems, almost everything around us as we're growing up as adults, when we get our curious gaze out and really observe what's going on, this is what we are observing around us is basically what we are seeing is treat others the way they treat you. That's what we are seeing more or less everywhere. And so what's going on here? So why is the rules not that, but something else? Because that's what we are seeing everywhere. Tit for tat, right? And so it's the question is there any overlap? Because we are trying to understand, what are the boundaries of the golden rule? When does it break? When does it not? So is there any overlap between this? Treat others the way they treat you and treat others the way you would like to be treated. Imagine a world in which these two actually overlap. So basically, treat others the way they treat you, and the way they're treating you is really the way you would like them to treat you. I mean, that would be a happy world. Imagine everyone is treating each other the way they want to be treated. That means this other rule, if it was treat others the way they treat you, would be a perfectly happy situation, because everyone is treating others the way they would like to be treated. And so treat others the way they treat you, and everyone is doing things like, anyone who does something to you, you are happy and you are doing the same, treat others the way they treat you. And it's that would be a kind of interesting thing if this two completely overlapped, right? But that's not how it is right now. Most of the times what's happening is treat others the way they treat you is not really working out, right? Like we are seeing everything all around. And that's why it's so important that we are on this journey together today, and that the whole world is celebrating the golden rule. Because, we might not be making sense of what's going on around the world, and a lot might be coming up right now with what's going on with all the wars and all the suffering that is there. And so we are not making sense of this world, why everyone is doing that, what's going on. So let's again make a pause and think about all those things that you're looking around you, feeling, where you're seeing treat others the way they treat you, in the sense of just resulting in a lot of violence. So just feel that. How does that make you feel? So we are trying to kind of go inside here. When you see all this, how does that make you feel? What comes up in you? And take a breath if you need to. And just pause. Take a deep breath. If just a simple breath is not getting you enough to relax. And exhale. So there was either we were feeling like we're in a dark room, we don't know what others like, whatever we do, no one is happy. Now we are feeling like we are in darkness, in dark age, because everyone is like just treating others the way they would treat you, and like it's not the way one would like. It's just not overlapping. And so there's a lot arising. And then, imagine Alice growing up seeing all this. And she has not really done a journey of inquiry too much, has not gone that far in her inquiry. And then you perpetuate that same thing. Imagine, so it's not only treat others the way they treat you that we are seeing around, treat others the way you were treated is what we are seeing also. So as a function of time. So it's not just something happened and you do the same thing back. There's so much burden of history and trauma and things we are living with right now. And so we, like, as a child, this is how I was treated. There were the strict rules, and you just listened to whatever was told to you. You were always a nice little girl. And I want you, my child now, to be the same. I am going to treat you the way I was treated. So there is that too. So not only like someone comes, there's an aggression, and then you go back. There was something that was done long, long ago, and it's at different scales to you, maybe to your community, maybe to your family, not even the whole community, but just your family, and or maybe to your country. And there's so much, like, layers of conditioning we are all carrying. And like, as a person, as a family, as a community, we are making choices as a country, and as a species, human species, what choices are we making on this earth? We have to remember we are not the only species here, and we are not the most elegant and beautiful either. There are like wise and amazing species all around, and like the trees and just the beautiful nature. So this diversity that is there, let's just celebrate it again and just feel joy once again that there is all this beauty is there. It's not yet all gone. Like, we all are still there, although lots of species are going extinct. If we kind of realize we all are on a journey and we start observing what's going on, then there are people who are realizing this is happening, what's happening to this world. And so what we also see is, like, a lot of people are going and like standing up for the rights of the children. Oh, they feel like, so it's treat others the way you would like to be treated. And they never were even in that situation. Like, maybe they lived a life of everything, all their needs met, available, but they are caring about all those who cannot ask for those things. Because if we were talking about this thing about figuring out what they like, I mean, there are people who have no voice, and surely there are animals who have no voice. They are not able to tell, don't do this to us. They cannot, they can just transmit it in their own way, but they cannot, and they are reaching us. And there are a lot of people to whom they're reaching. And so when we start observing, we see that, oh, on one hand, there are these people, like, there's aggression for aggression, but then there are, like, we are also observing all around us that, there are all these people who actually go and stand up for protecting other animals. They're protecting children. They're protecting people who are, like, treated like slaves in the current modern day slavery. It's just, there are all those people. So we are also observing that. And then, like, on the other hand, there are times when we might be doing this, but at the same time, imagine, like, this world of tit for tat is so surrounding us all the time. Think about all those movies that are there on the books, where, like, the whole plot is revenge. Someone does something, and the hero, so there's the enemy, and then there is someone who's going to come as a savior. So there is always, like, there is some one against the other, and there is this whole plot, and, like, you're cheering for, like, how many times, think about all those movies you've watched. And just there's someone doing something and then someone else comes and like takes revenge, you know. This is kind of the extreme form of treat others the way they treat you or the way you were treated. And whole idea of revenge is so much there in everything. So think about those times when you have read a book or watched a movie, or you are actually seeing what's happening in the world today. There was some country doing something and some other country went back. All those things, observe with honesty. So on this journey, we need full honesty. Have you cheered sometime for the hero? Have you cheered that, hey, this was done? Revenge was achieved. Oh, this person did this bad thing. Now see how now he's facing the consequences. Have you been one who has done that? And it's perfectly fine if you have been there. It's what is needed for this journey, for us to keep moving, is to be honest. So honesty is something that will take us face to face with truths that are not necessarily very comfortable, not convenient for sure. And so what do you do when we find those truths in us? So when we are realizing that, what happens inside of us? Have we cheered for this? Are we doing that? Are we creating enemies around us? So are we standing up for the right of someone, but then we are like, really having an enemy image of this person who did this, and we want to get back at this person? And are we going around judging? So all these judgments are like props, like tools. So if we decide to take the torch of truth, light of truth there on everything that's happening, they are all going to be our tools. Like in science, there are there are so many different probes and that we use and tools to kind of find out about the world around us. Same way, we have all these props. There are all these judgments, all these truths that we are discovering. Those are helping us in the Golden Rule land to figure out what's going on. Why is this rule there? And so it's, why was it suggested? And so we are going to use our judgments. So are we judging others for what they're doing, for their actions? Oh, how could that person do that? And like, are we like, really going around judging everyone else? Because that's something that's going to tell us something about ourselves. So just take a moment here to think about all those judgments that you have come up with. That you're feeling currently, maybe even. And see, what do they tell us? Remember, we are trying to find something universal. If there is anything universal, we don't know. Because we realize there's so much diversity. There's a dark room, then there's darkness. So where are we going in this journey? And so just keep connecting to how it feels. So when I judge someone, when I criticize someone, how do I feel inside? Does it make me feel happy and nice and cheerful, calling people names? Or does it hurt me? Does it harm am I harming myself? And then, do I like to be judged? How do I feel when someone judges me? How many times am I making choices just so that I'm not being judged, to make sure that no one is going to judge me this way or that way? And so just being honest with yourself again. And, if you are the kind of person who feels like, oh, I always follow the golden rule, and like you're very much like, I'm going around doing everything the way I would like to, it should, like, you're expecting others to do, you feel like you're being like a very kind person, whatever that means to you, and you're being like doing everything good. But then if you're doing that with a huge expectation that I'm going around really treating others the way I would like to be treated, but no one is really caring about me, you feel like, if that is building up expectations that, oh, I'm going to get something out of it, I'm going around doing things to others, like really thinking I'm applying the golden rule, if you're doing it as like applying golden rule in the sense of being nice, you're soon going to be very frustrated, because you're going to go around thinking, building up lots of expectations for how other people should also be doing that. And you find, oh, I'm going around like really caring about what other people's needs are, and like really doing all that. And now you are building up expectations that you are going to be treated the way you would like to be treated too. And that's just not happening. So then you wonder, hey, this golden rule, I'm really trying to apply it. And now, coming back to our journey, what does it mean? To who, where all does it apply? What does it mean really? And you're trying to figure out. And as one of the experiments, you decide, I'm going to go around really applying the golden rule, being really like doing every act, like everything I do, I'm going to do it like such that I'm really caring for everyone else. And then, but if you are doing that with building up large and huge expectations, and if you are kind of, let's say, you are going around with that expectation, and if your image of yourself like is becoming big and big and big, this world like you, and that's what we could call ego, is becoming very big by thinking I am applying golden rule and I'm like doing all these things, and like you might be also like thinking like, oh, I'm so generous and like I have money and I'm going to build this hospital, and but like you have to, are you going to put your name there? Is this what's happening to your ego? So let's just slow down here and like go back to the golden rule. Treat others the way you would like them to be, the way you would like to be treated, the way you would like them to treat me, right? Now, let's ask the question, each word, okay? First of all, treat. What does it mean to treat? Let's just pause here and ask, what does the word treat mean? Treat others. So as we are growing in our spiritual practice, we realize treat is a vague word there, because we are seeing what's happening inside of us when we go in. We are realizing that what happens, like if you're aware, like if your awareness is increasing in your life, you're aware of what's happening inside of you, what's happening in your mind, what's coming up. And then you will ask this question, what does it mean treat? Is it the intention? Does it mean the thoughts? Does it mean the words? Or does it mean like some physical action? What is treat? So let's say I am actually like thinking like really violent thoughts about someone, but I go and behave in a seemingly non-violent way, or I might be even smiling and saying something, giving someone a compliment, while in my mind I'm like thinking, oh, this looks horrible. What is this person thinking? And like, if you are judging constantly in your mind and like criticizing, and then you're actually doing something, or even like your words are something else. So what does that mean? So if you're treating others the way you would like to be treated, but the treatment is basically about your words and action, but like your intention is not really there. So with what intention are you doing something? And so that's another question. So, I really believe this golden rule is an invitation. It's called a rule. It's a provocation and an invitation for inquiry. It can take you to all possible directions, that all sorts of questions, and you'll find like lots of gems there of discovery. And what is treating? And then there is the next question you can ask. Do I have a choice in how I treat others? How much am I choosing how I do things in my life? How much conscious choice am I making? It can even lead to a question of whether there is free will or not. So we are realizing that this journey of golden rule is like, it's really a gold mine of like all sorts of things we are going to discover. And we are just beginning. Right now, we are kind of just realizing what we are not understanding fully, and we are still kind of going around trying to figure out. And so, can we make choices? Like how many times has it happened that I did something, and like, someone said something, and I actually like really was an example of treat others the way they treat you. Someone said something and I reacted like immediately. How many times in our life are we going around reacting to what is happening to us? Like someone says something, you're a fool, and you say you're a fool, or like you get angry and upset, and you're just kind of doing that kind of reactive behavior where you are not making a conscious choice. And so treat others, hey, you're telling me to treat others the way I would like them to treat me, but I'm not really choosing most of the times what I'm doing in my life. If I'm going around reacting, it's making us think about how we relate with others, and thinking about what's happening inside, and how do we relate to ourselves even. So let's assume that someone is actually really following the golden rule, is treating others the way you would like to be treated, the way that person understands that, and is not even having expectations, but is going on and on doing that, and is just not taking care of herself or himself, of self. And like is judging, there's a lot of self-judgment. Oh, I didn't really do that very well. Oh no, this like, so whatever you're doing, you're never satisfied, you're never content, you're always judging yourself, you're critical of yourself. And there is just all the resources are soon dry up. So it's not just when you say treat others the way you would like to be treated, where are you drawing the boundary? And are you taking care of yourself? Are you pausing to treat yourself the way you would like others, to treat you? Are you treating yourself like that? So maybe you are like going around being really like taking care of everyone, like making sure your kids are fed well, they're eating nutritious food, and you're doing everything, all this taking care of other people. But are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of yourself in the sense of your health, physical health, your mental health? And so how are you treating yourself the way you treat others? So there are, like, you sometimes start seeing that what you would do for others because you feel like that's how you would like to be treated, but you yourself are not treating yourself that way. You are treating yourself the way you would not want to be treated by other people. You are doing that to yourself. And so, as we start observing and becoming more and more aware, our self-awareness is growing, start realizing also that when we observe, like sometimes when we're reacting, we start observing what's happening is actually changing. So you start realizing that your observations are changing, even your experience. Everything is actually quite dynamic. There's a constant feedback going on. And so that comes back to the question of choices and how much awareness we have. And so this is a journey in which we are growing in awareness just by asking the question of probing golden rule. All these questions are taking us to kind of ask more and more about ourselves, what's happening inside of us, and how does that affect others. And so that's again, like, as a quantum physicist, it's kind of like, this idea of observations, how they change when you're measuring how the state changes. And so, yeah, so it's just not very surprising that all these interpretations were done of this book. And so, again, coming back to whether it's the intention, and it might be that you did something with a really good intention, maybe, but your action was not really taken by someone as something that was good. They might react to it, but your intention was really pure. Now, how would that work? So there are just so many questions. And then when we start finding truths, as we start asking questions about treat me, what I would like and how do I feel? So when I go and harm someone else, I start realizing in my journey as I'm getting more and more aware that I'm harming myself when I do that. And so, basically this questioning, as we continue and just start going deeper and deeper, we start seeing that we are actually, when we harm others, we are harming ourselves. And like all these truths that we start coming, they come in front of us, and we start seeing, asking the question of what is me and what is other? What are the boundaries there? And that's because the word is treat, the way I would like others to treat me and treat others. Who are others? And who is me here? And, like in any inquiry, the me, as it becomes bigger and bigger, the ego, that is going to be taking us away from the inquiry. Same in science. If you start getting too attached to your ideas and your theory, and there's a big ego, the science you're going to do is not really very good. And so, because your inquiry now is getting totally affected by the fact that your ego is kind of becoming so big that, like, we left aside dogma, but then you are creating dogma when you are having a big ego and you're building up your ego of what I say is the truth, what I understand, that's what it is. It's just going on and on, becoming dogmatic. You become dogmatic as your ego becomes bigger and bigger. You expect everyone to, you feel like you know everything very well. You want everyone to understand, like, just do what you want to do. And then, like, the question of what is me, mine. And then, like, it's like me and my family. And then the rest are others. Okay, that's something we, as the kids are growing up, knowingly or unknowingly, we are giving this to them. Just think about what are we teaching our children? So within our family, we don't do this. They might do that. They are other. They come from a different community. And they are different background, but we are like this. They might be like that. So me, and then like, you want to protect your family, you will do whatever needed, but not like, if it is happening to like your neighbor's family, no, you will not worry about it. So it's like me, mine, and like if your child says something to you in front of someone, it's like, oh my God, how could my child say that to me? And someone else's child says that to their parent, you're like, oh, they are not really bringing up their child very well. And so it's like, there are all these judgments. There is like a lot of me, mine, and like this whole expansion that is going on, me, my community, my religion. So, how are we, when we start enlarging our circle, but it is kind of in a boundary where we draw a line. It's me and everyone else. That's one option. But then it's me, my family, and everyone else. It's my community and everyone else is other. It's just drawing all these boundaries. If you draw those boundaries like that, like rigid walls, like this is me and mine and our, and others are outside of that line is other, the other country. And so you start seeing that when you're doing that is when like this thing of treat others the way they treat you, behaviors are coming. The revenge is coming. So we are beginning to kind of, as we go in more and more deep into this, we are realizing that this me and other is where there are things to be explored. That's where all the interesting thing, understanding is going to come. Where am I drawing this line? And so because we other, then there is this whole thing of treat others the way they treat you. That energy, that behavior is coming from the othering. And so the golden rule is really inviting us to think about the word other. That's the biggest invitation, to understand what is me, what is other, what is street, how much do I choose? There's so many questions all coming up. And so the othering, so where are we drawing this hard line where we call other? And for the longest time, so there are so many otherings we have done. And one of the big othering we have done is with our species. So there are a lot of people you'll find who say like, oh, every human being is my brother. And like really stand up for like other people. They'll go to defend like, anyone who, like they'll be all about human rights and everything. But then they have drawn a line where everyone else, all other species, they're outside. I just fight for the human family. And so is that where you're supposed to apply the golden rule? Does it work? Does it make sense? Is it going to achieve whatever like whoever came up with this rule wanted us to achieve? Is that the end of our inquiry into the rule? Or like we just take it as given and we don't inquire at all, and then we are just like doing it within the human family? Oh, this is one human family. But then, oh no, I actually love my pet. I don't just care about humans. I absolutely love my pet. I cannot bear anything happening to my pet. And, it's amazing. Like, we give stuffed toys as to children. And those toys, like they're all sorts of animals and the kids love to cuddle them. And like you say, oh, treat your toy really well. Make sure nothing happens to that. Don't like tear it. Don't make it dirty. Don't throw it. Treat it well. But then at the same time, for dinner, you're going to serve an animal to eat. So the toy, so, as we open-mindedly, keeping aside dogma, start going into this inquiry, the whole me and other thing is coming more and more up. It's my toy, so I'm going to take care of it. I don't care about the other toy that is lying there and maybe is like just, it's like littering. There's like, it's on the playground, it's fallen down, it's getting dirty. I don't care about it. It's not my toy. And it's like my toy. And even if it's just a toy, like, you'll be like, oh, this toy, the animal, the mother will tell you, handle it gently. But then when it is a real animal, and then like you go and tell, oh, I watched this documentary. Oh, don't even tell me that. Because I have drawn a line here. I don't have the capacity to care about everyone. This is where I care and I'm totally devoted to, and I apply my golden rule within this circle. And then outside that, I'm not going to, just don't tell me that. And so, that's, as soon as you draw a line, your journey is over. And so it's just like you have to keep enlarging this circle, and like you soon realize that all the animals, like this rabbit that went into the Alice is going behind the rabbit. I mean, it's, imagine all those animals that burrow, like all the different adaptations and like the kinds of wisdom that is there. And are we going to draw a line and say that it's not applicable to them? And the earth and the trees that have all these beautiful mycelium networks and they communicate. There are all these communities within animals, between animals and trees, and there's this whole diversity. And so what is it that all these beings and the trees and the earth, like where, like, you see how animals are protecting their young ones, they are protecting themselves. So everyone, we are beginning to see some universal things, their patterns. As we see enlarge our circle and celebrate more and more diversity, we start seeing more and more universality. And where is that universality taking us? As we embrace our and make our circles bigger, then this golden rule is beginning to make more and more sense. And we realize that there is all these different precepts that are there: don't lie, don't kill, that are there in many different religions. All those things, where did they come from? Like, if you start exploring how you want to be treated, like those were the things, like the universal things that came out, and that's why there are all these precepts. And we are on a spiral, like, of discovery. So just like in science, like, we revisit the same questions, but now we find that there is something new with new tools, new probes, and we find something new. There's a new discovery. And like we keep going on a spiral, and we will keep coming back and like growing more and more in our understanding. As our self-awareness increases, we realize that where the universal thing is going is about harm. We are, Ahimsa is what, like, really, it's everything is going and moving towards. When we start seeing what lies underneath everything, and like, it would take us a long time to totally dive into all this right now. I'm thinking like perhaps I'll follow up with some more things, and like really I have lots of ideas on this. But for now, I'm inviting you to continue this exploration on your own and see how Ahimsa, non-harming, so it kind of, all these different things we have talked about, what are the universal things that are coming up? Treat others the way you want to be treated. It's basically, you don't want anyone to harm you. It's not about all these preferences and priorities. Harm is what we are talking about. When your me and other line is gone, everyone is interconnected. You realize this is the whole system. When you start probing, like in physics or any science, what are the boundaries? Like you realize very quickly when you start probing golden rule that like the whole universe, the earth, all animals, everything. It's like, the whole of it. It's a dynamic system that is keeping on changing. There's strong interactions. And it's like in whole space time we have to worry about. And then what we start getting more and more deeper into like what's going on. And like what we very soon discover is also this thing, why this idea of reap what you sow, you reap what you sow came up. Like we are constantly planting seeds when we are making choices. So it's not like what we do. So we are doing this without an expectation of fruits right away when we are treating others, because we realize whatever we are doing, we are all interconnected. In the end, the golden rule is kind of telling you there is no other. That's the message it's giving you, the biggest message. There is no other. We are all together. There is just one suffering. It's not my suffering, your suffering. And so my harm, your harm, no harm. That's where we are going. Like we soon, as we continue deeper and deeper on this journey, we realize that this whole idea of what you're doing, what seeds you're planting, whatever choices you're making is affecting everything, everyone, and yourself, because you're not separate. And so once we realize there's no other, the golden rule starts really shining. And like it's the goldenness of it becomes more and more clear. And you realize there are no boundaries. So when we were trying to probe, so what we realize, it's not about pleasing others, it's not about preferences. Yes, you can empathize. You can try to understand the way Alice in the book, like empathizing with the mouse, she cries. There might be times when we're crying, and like there's a reason why we are going through a journey. Imagine Alice in Wonderland. She opens this window and she sees this beautiful garden, and like immediately she is able to go in. She wouldn't have met all those different characters. She would not have made any discovery about herself. And so it's really important to embrace whatever is happening to us as a way of taking us somewhere where we are going to find that beautiful garden. And like we soon find that it's like just one big garden. There are no walls there. It's just we are all in this one beautiful garden that we all flourish, and we go out from the survival mode into thriving, flourishing mode when we are all together. And so just enjoy your journey, and there is so much more. It's like, and like we also soon realize that why there is the golden rule. It's like a guide. So like all other precepts, but this is the most vague. And so I feel like, because there's so many question marks, that somehow the wisdom of it was, some people feel like it's it's one of the most practical and clear thing. In my view, it's the most vague, and it's the most provocative. It's really asking you to go into a journey of spiritual journey. It's a big invitation, a provocative invitation to inquire and like not be dogmatic. So all traditions, I think, had this idea that they wanted you. That's what I want to believe. And like, it's also called a rule because some people really like rules. But then because to feel more protected, and sometimes it's needed. Like if you need a hard helmet, you need to wear it. And so, but just realize like that we are on a journey, and we are just on a journey of making bigger and bigger circles of compassion and finding that there is no other. So thank you all for joining me in the journey of inquiry, and I hope to keep continuing something. I have so many things I want to do with this, and 1.5 an hour is not enough. So if you follow me on LinkedIn or send me an email, my email, if you just put my name, it will be easy. On LinkedIn page also is there, and connect with me. I'm hoping to continue on this Alice's adventures in the Golden Rule Land. This is almost like just a beginning, I feel. And so thank you very much. And I don't, let me just see what's happening with.
Yes, Nayana, there is a question here. It's kind of a long one.
Yeah.
And I can read that to you if you have the time. It's 12:25.
Yeah,
And
okay, we
have
can
5
do one
minutes.
question.
Okay. All right, I will read this to you. I do not know who sent this. It says, due to diversity variances in preferences, I caution against the emphasis on the subjectively flawed golden rule. And I think you have really
Okay, I don't
addressed
think we
that.
need to, maybe it's probably given the time. Is there a question or is it a comment? Because the comments, we can get back to this person later.
Yes,
Can you
that's
just maybe read the question?
I'm looking towards the end. Yeah, it's more of a comment. You're right.
Yeah, so maybe just for given like the amount of time that we have, perhaps maybe it's better to end here with just feeling gratitude again, because I really don't want to take out time from gratitude. So I really want to express my gratitude once again for this opportunity to be with all of you on this journey of inquiry. And thank you all for joining me. And I hope that we will somehow, our paths will cross and we will continue to have this journey. It's a lifelong journey. And thank you again, Judy, for, is Barbara there? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I think there
I'm
she
just,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank
This
you,
has been
Barbara and Judy.
It's been so wonderful, Nayana. And we just, speaking of gratitude, we are so grateful for you to give us this time and your wisdom and just a beautiful presentation. And I learned so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Barbara and Judy. And thank you, Felipe, wherever you are right now, whatever space you are in, but who's organizing and taking care of all these different events. So a lot of gratitude to you too. And thank you all. And I hope you stay in touch in whatever way. And if you're watching the recording, again, is the same invitation. Please connect with me if you are you have any questions or something, you're just beginning this journey, or whatever insights you've got you want to share. And because there's a lot I could say about all this, and of course 1.5 hours is a very short time for this very, very amazing journey we can take. Thank you all.